Maybe we can introduce ourselves before it starts, since we are not quite, not a lot of people. I am Chantal Dardelet from ESSEC Business School, and with my colleague Celia, we'll talk about diversity fresco in a moment. So maybe Anna?
Hello, good afternoon. I work at Nova University at the HR department.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So in place, Joao, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So I work at Nova, just like Anna, and I serve as Chief Sustainability Officer. And I'm curious to see if this is a match with my daily activities. The topic of this session.
Okay, thank you. Esther?
Hi, I'm a Vice Rector for Social Compromise at Pompeu Fabra University, and I just was interested to see what will you talk about on diversity. We are now creating our new diversity plan, strategic plan, so I thought I could get some ideas.
Okay, thank you. Chantal, who was there before, were the first here. I'm not sure she can hear you. She can hear us. So maybe...
I think she's the host of the session.
Okay.
So far.
So who else? Oh, I just see Tarditi. Maybe mixed between your first name. Hello.
Hello, Marie Tarditi. I'm also French. I'm from CY, Cergy Paris University. And I work... I help students in their career, professional career. So, and as I am a coach, I'm really interested by diversity too.
Okay, so we are just neighbor.
Yes, I hope I could meet you once.
Okay, and then Lewis Beer. Lewis.
Hello, yes, I'm Lewis Beer. I work at the University of Warwick. I work in the International Strategy and Relations team, and I support various aspects of Warwick's involvement in the EUTOPIA Alliance, including Work Package 5 of 2050, which is focused on the theme of inclusion. So I'm really, really interested to hear about this project today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think we can start, or do we have to work? I don't know how we did the other work. Well, the other session worked. Do we have to wait, or do we start at time? What's the best for you? Maybe one less,
Maybe
minute
we
less.
can. I think we can start.
Okay, we start? Everybody's okay? Okay.
Yes, great.
Maybe one last question. I don't know if it's possible for me to share my screen, if I had the rights. I think it is. Okay, so it should be okay. So I am Chantal Dardelet, as I said before. Maybe according to what you said before, I have two different jobs in ESSEC. The first one is that I am the director of the Equal Opportunities Center, which is a team with about 15 people. And among them, there's Celia. And I also have another mission. It is sustainability. So I'm responsible for the transformation for social and environmental issues in ESSEC, both in training, on the campus life, and so on. And there is a link between both missions. Celia, maybe?
So I'm Celia. I work with Chantal it's been 4 years now on equal opportunities, and I just become also project manager for the fresk, the D&I fresk that we will present you right now.
Yes. So we start. We'll talk about diversity fresco. Maybe we should say D&I fresco, diversity and inclusion fresco. Just a few words to start with. why we are together. Maybe it's to try to find answers to the questions like, where does the Fresco diversity come from? What is it? How does it work? How is it used today in universities, in companies, by whom, and so on? Maybe a second part, what are the next steps for us? And a third part, what could we do all together to develop this tool and maybe to maximize the impact for an inclusive society, for instance? Is it okay for you if we discuss about these points? Okay. A question to start with. Do you know the climate fresk?
Yes,
Who knows?
I've done it.
Yes,
I've done it.
everybody. No? Okay. It's just to, okay, so no problem. I will maybe add some words about that. Why do I ask this question? Because let's say that the diversity fresco is to social challenges what the climate fresk is to climate challenges. That means that the diversity fresco is an awareness raising tool about the issues of discrimination, diversity, inclusion within organizations such as schools and universities or companies, both, or for interested people. And this tool has been inspired by the pedagogy of the climate fresk. That's the reason why I'll talk about that. Maybe also it's important to say that ESSEC has been work on this tool, has designed and produced this tool during these last 18 months with Bello Games, and it is within the framework of ESSEC's ecological and social approach, with the ambition to train all our students in major societal issues, including diversity and inclusion. And we didn't find a tool to do that. So we tried to imagine, to conceive it, and the diversity fresco provides students with a framework for debate and allow them to understand the cognitive bias, I don't know how to say that lead to discrimination with their consequences. And also we try to imagine solution tracks. We'll discuss about that in a moment. So let's say that the diversity fresco is the first step in a long process aimed at building inclusion. The diversity and inclusion fresco is based on the academic expertise of Professor Junko Takagi, who is in ESSEC the titular professor of the Leadership and Diversity Chair. It is also based on the latest research in cognitive science and social psychology. Let's say these are the main points maybe to know to understand where this fresco comes from. And if you agree, I would like to show you now a very short video just to look at what it looks like. Okay for you? If the techniques is okay too. So I try. So. Hop. Share sound, qu'est-ce que je devais faire d'autre encore?
Share sound et surtout.
Et voilà.
Et très bien.
La fresque de la diversité, c'est un outil, un jeu collaboratif qui permet de sensibiliser des groupes d'étudiants ou de professionnels aux enjeux des discriminations pour faire comprendre d'où elles viennent et pour pouvoir comprendre quels sont les moyens par lesquels on peut lutter contre celles-ci pour, in fine, construire une société inclusive.
Inclusion is not something where you listen to everybody and go, yes, yeah, okay, that's interesting, okay? Because that's a very passive way of dealing with diversity. Diversity is great because it has the potential for what we call constructive conflict.
Les fondements de cette fresque sont des fondements scientifiques fondés sur les sciences sociales, les sciences cognitives, qui permet vraiment de mettre noir sur blanc les grands facteurs qui génèrent les discriminations pour pouvoir ensuite les traiter.
Enfin, c'est assez interactif parce que ça donne lieu à des discussions, donc on est à plusieurs. Le fait de le mettre en fresque, ça permet un peu de faire des liens et de chercher à comprendre, et donc c'est positif, je pense.
On a tous conscience qu'on a un peu des biais, qu'on a un peu des stéréotypes et des préjugés, mais on ne se rend pas compte d'à quel point ça influence nos comportements au quotidien. Ça ouvre grand les yeux sur ces grandes problématiques sociales, je pense.
Et ça a permis de spécifier certaines choses que je savais déjà, mais dont j'avais jamais vraiment eu d'explications plus poussées, notamment la différence entre certains mots comme préjugés ou stéréotypes, où on peut un peu faire un amalgame. Et c'était assez intéressant et c'était bien fait.
On est absolument convaincus, en termes de vision de la société qu'on porte, de l'importance de préparer nos étudiants à être demain des managers, des leaders, des citoyens inclusifs qui voient la diversité non pas comme une source de tension, une source de problèmes ou de conflits, mais bien comme une source magnifique d'opportunités, contribuer à créer ensemble cette société inclusive à laquelle on aspire.
Okay for you? Did the technique, okay, was the technique okay? Yes?
Yes.
So maybe we can continue with the floor to Celia to explain how it works concretely speaking. So I will share my screen again.
So basically, as you've seen in the video, the D&I Fresco is a serious game, what we call today a serious game. It's based on collective intelligence. It lasts 3 hours. It seems to be quite long, but actually it's really interactive. The participants are most of the time standing, they move. We propose them several activities. So in general, at the end, people tell us, wow, 3 hours. At the beginning, they are a bit afraid of it. And at the end, they are quite happy and want the activity to last more. So during the 3 hours, there is one facilitator that lead and moderate the exchanges and debates between 6 to 10 participants around 42 concept cards. I have here some of them, so you can see how it looks like. We have some cards that refer to the cognitive process that lead to discrimination. For instance, here I have the card, I don't know if you can see it, cognitive bias. You have also some cards that refer more to the consequences of discriminations, precarizations, I don't know. Can you see well my screen? Is it okay? Chantal?
Yes, it is.
C'est bon?
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
Perfect. Some other cards refers more to the solutions that are considered to tackle discrimination issues. In here I have a card that is called quotas, and all these concept cards are the same way. So you have one side the name of the card, of the concept, and like and an image to illustrate it, and just behind you have an example to illustrate what it is, or a definition of it. So the idea is the cards are distributed in several rounds, and the participants have to understand the causal link between the cards and then build up collectively a logical process to arrange the cards on the table. And round after round, their logic evolves and they move the cards. All this make them exchange debates, and between each round of cards, there are activities that are proposed to them to generate emotion and to strengthen awareness raising. It helps them, the idea also is to help them measure the scope and the extent of discrimination issues and to make them, like to put them into action. So they want to do something for it. So the idea also, the concept card, is to share a common understanding of the different concepts that are at stake here. I don't know if you have question at this stage of how it works, and maybe Chantal, si on peut revenir en grand écran.
Parce que je croyais que tu étais en grand écran là. Ah oui, d'accord.
Non, on voit le... I don't know if you have a question about how it works and how it functions. Is it clear enough for you how it works? Yeah,
Yeah, maybe I was just wondering where, in which contexts do you play this game, or?
Perfect. That was the next step of our presentation.
Okay, so I'll wait.
Okay.
Any other question about how it works? You've seen the images, also the video? No? So Chantal, back on stage.
Okay. Okay. So
Maybe...
your question was how it works. C'est bon? Vous voyez l'écran là? It's okay for you on the screen?
Non, là pour l'instant, enfin, tu partages ton écran là? Non.
No, it's okay. So to answer the question, when do we use that? At that time, we have only one available version, which is in French language and adapted to the French context. I mean, regarding what is in France a discrimination, which will not be the same as what it is in the United States or in Australia or in Morocco, for instance. We only have one version that's different from the climate fresk, because we all have the same planet, but we don't have the same systems regarding the questions of D&I. So one available version that has been used, let's say, by about 2,000 users so far, mainly in higher education. For instance, in the ESSEC, all the first year of the program Grande École has been using this Fresco, about 420 students, but also about 800 other students in engineering schools, in business schools, and so on. And just to give an idea, we also had the opportunity to show what was the Fresco of Diversity in what we call the Grande École in France. And I think it's 48 universities and Grande École that has tested it and that are looking at how to develop in the coming months or in the coming years this tool to make their school or their university more inclusive. So that is for higher education. And in big companies also, we have had those spontaneously demands for what is that tool? Could we use it in our HR service, for instance, mainly, for instance, because we have built a big D&I policy, and now for us, we do want to find solutions to fight against discriminations or so on. We also had the demands in companies coming from CSR responsible people because of sustainability and of course the questions of how to fight against inequalities. So, but it is a little early to say how it works, but the first feedback we had are very good, and companies seem interesting to get their companies more inclusive.
Maybe we can share some verbatim that we had. So from a student, but also like someone that animated the fresco among students, but also someone in a company.
You had them? Do you want me to show them on the screen?
Yeah, I think. The first target when we created the fresco was really the student, and obviously, first of all, the ESSEC students, but the idea like it gets like people really get interested into the fresco, and companies are really keen on it, and for their D&I policy. It's really the start of their reflection. They play the fresco and then they start their reflection to think their D&I plan strategy.
I think we can say that fresco is really, really very interesting when the 10 people around the table are diverse. When they all look like one another, it's quite more interesting. So this is the first feedback we have. But for instance, in our school, we have in some programs, let's say not a lot of diversity, so it's a little difficult. But in different companies, for instance, or other schools or other programs, we also had at ESSEC with people coming from different territories, different culture, different trainings, and so on. The exchanges are very, very rich, and everybody as new ideas or a new conscious about these questions. Next point maybe is, so I already talked about that, maybe the way we deploy the fresco, concretely speaking. There are two steps, let's say, for that. The first one is for a company or for a school or for a university, is of course to know what it is, to look at if it is relevant or not for the organization, looking all that already exists on these topics, of course. For us, that means that we are regularly organizing discovery workshops, let's say for 10 people. It lasts either only the 3 hours Celia talked about, or a whole day, in the morning with the fresco and in the afternoon about, let's say, declusion. What does that mean? What does that tell to me? As maybe through three directions. What did I learn? What did I feel? What did I want to change? So we discuss about these 3 dimensions. Then if the organization, the university, the company thinks it's interesting for them, they identify people that could be tomorrow the people who will animate, who will be the facilitators for the fresco. That is a little like a climate fresk. And then they send these people for training. The training lasts 2 days because they need to be both comfortable with facilitation, but also comfortable with the topics. And let's say it's sometimes very touchy, let's say, particularly in France at that time, because of political, let's say, political context, which is not quite good for diversity. And we really feel all that when we animate the fresco. Never mind, they identify the facilitators, we train them, and then we accompany these facilitators in the deployment of the fresco inside the organization. And one of the main tools we use is a community of practice. When we meet all together regularly, all the people who have already been trained, who are still started to organize a workshop, the idea is to give feedback to improve the tool because it's still a baby and we do have to improve it to take into consideration the way people feel, the way people understand all that. The idea for us is to maximize the impact. We do want to go towards inclusion in our school, in higher education, generally speaking, in companies. So we really want to know how we can maximize the impact of this fresco, and we can give that with the feedbacks we receive. So have you got any question at that time? Oui, Marie.
Yes. I have one question. How this serious game help to change behavior of students?
Mm-hmm. There are no miracles. In fact, in our school at that time, they understand that they are privileged. How would you say that in English?
Privileged.
Yes, they are privileged. Before they thought they were only there because they are genius, and they understand that, of course, they have worked a lot to be there. Of course, they did all what has to be done to be there, but they understand that they have, most of them are in an environment that has been, let's say, that has made things possible, rather than others that with the same effort they couldn't be there. So they realize that. It's a little shock at the time. And we also insist a lot on the other reason why we do that. There are 2 reasons. The first one is, let's say, justice, sustainability. We want to reduce inequalities. The other one, and we are working on that too, we do think that it is good for everybody. The management of diversity should lead our organizations to more performance, let's say, like we do think that in the well, let's say with the the actual challenges we have to face, we think we need diversity to face these questions. So we do need to, we want things to be changed. So we explain that they have to realize that, maybe to change themselves, maybe also to realize that people different from them are interesting for them and for the whole society.
And through activities, we make them realize as well as we all discriminate. We all discriminate. We all have prejudice, and that's how our brain works. And so we all do discriminate, and all these discriminations have consequences not only on the people but on the society. And so no one can be, even if you're privileged, how can I say? Even if you're privileged, you pay the consequences of the discrimination.
Thank you.
There will be a fresco in ESSEC on the 10th of December. If you're interested, just come in the morning.
Okay, I used I am an alumni of BBA ESSEC.
Ah, okay. Welcome back home. Welcome back school. No, there will be about maybe, I think, 15 people, and we'll have a new fresco to exchange with people coming from very different backgrounds. So it will be very interesting, I think.
Okay. Unfortunately, I can't the 10th,
so
but next time, with pleasure.
And tomorrow afternoon, I'm with Stefania, well, from CY University, with a teacher in CY University. Well, let's see, what's his name? Sorry. He's interested also with this fresco for his students. It is Stefania Marcassa. You know her?
No.
Okay. Yes.
I'm just in I've been in CY for 2 months, 3 months only.
Okay. All right.
But I know Marie Morellet.
Ah, okay.
I used to work with her to make an internship at Mosaic RH.
Ah, okay. She's working on this topic too, in this tool, so you'll meet her soon. Have you got other questions coming from Lisbon or anywhere else? Maybe I can share with you the next steps. So first, we have, as I said, one version, and at this moment, we just have to answer all the people asking for the fresco. Inside ESSEC, on the territory of Cergy-Pontoise with CYU and other schools, for instance, I was with l'école d'art de Cergy-Pontoise last week, and they want also to test this tool. Of course, to use it in the whole higher education system, let's say, for those who are interested in, and companies. So this is the first point. The second point is, of course, to have versions adapted to other students. Our students in English, very soon in English, regarding the European context, and of course in English language. This should be available in a few months, and we're working with that in Europa thanks to EUTOPIA program. So we are working on that, and it's quite difficult. We just have to find the right references to make it okay for this country, but also this one. It's not so easy. Of course, the part the part about community science is common to all the frescoes, of course, no problem, but all the other sides are different according to the context we're in. So this is the next point, to imagine different version. Europe, also Singapore version, because we have a campus there. So we have to address these students regarding what does inclusion and diversity means in this part of the world. Also in Morocco, because we have a campus there, and it is also something quite different to talk about discrimination and and diversity in this country. So this is next step. And we also have started a study about impact. We have people who is looking at what does the fresco change before they practice fresco, then after, what does it change or not? If it doesn't change anything, we'll have a big question. I hope it is, but also what does it change? And okay, so this should be also available in a few months for the first version, let's say, and of course we'll follow that years after years. So now the question is, what do you think of that? Is it interesting according to you regarding what already exists? What does it tell to you? I'm interested with your feedbacks with the very few elements we gave today.
Sounds really interesting to me. I was just going to ask about something in the video. One of the speakers there talked about constructive conflict, and I wondered if in your kind of experiences and facilitators' experiences of running the fresco, does there tend to be a lot of conflict, a lot of defensiveness or sort of combativeness, and does the structure of the fresco and the fact that it is a game, you know, albeit a serious game, does that structure make it easier to kind of manage conflict and help it to become constructive and help it to lead to something constructive?
It's a little early to answer all these questions, but what we think, this is an opportunity for students coming from different parts of the world, coming from different social backgrounds, for instance, and so on, to discuss and maybe to understand that there are not only one way to think about this question or this program, and they can debate, and this is very, very important because we have no place elsewhere to discuss about that. And then, as I said before, regarding the French context, at that time, it's particularly difficult. And if I address the sustainability questions, we all know, and the climate fresk talk about that there will be more and more conflicts linked to the people coming from different backgrounds because of consequences, people that will have to move from one country to another one for climate reasons, for instance. We have to prepare all that too. Okay. What else? Junko should should give other examples, but maybe Celia, you have also.
I would say that conflicts sometimes often come from misunderstanding. People don't have the same definition of one concept, and with the fresco we give a definition, and so they have to agree about that and understand, like, sometimes the polemic that exists is actually because of the misunderstanding. So I think that helps a lot. And maybe I can also add something, that the fresco is not oriented towards solution. It's really like to, as Chantal was saying at the beginning, to raise awareness about the cognitive process, how our brains work. And it's more like we're working on the individual level with the fresco.
When you meet somebody in 100 milliseconds, so that is in 10% of 1 second, you have put the people you meet in a case. You know that she's a woman or a man, that she's black or white, or that she's young or old, and so on. So it's very, very quick. And with these characteristics, you could, let's say, you could judge the people unconsciously. And this can lead, of course, to discrimination, of course, for instance, for juries, admission, recruitment juries, or so on. Maybe things like this are included in the processes, and we have to make people aware about that, to take off the bad reasons why we don't give the chance to everybody according to their talent. So that's what we want to change to. So this is the first place. And as Celia said, there are also 3 cards looking at solutions, even if it is only the very, very beginning. And they say there are 3 ways to change things, maybe. First is individual. Okay, the brain works that way, but you choose people, you say you. So you are responsible for the decision you take, and being aware of the way it works, you can adapt and take the right decision. So this is individual. The second track of solution is organization, in the organization itself. For instance, when NG, with a big company, choose to have 50-50 between men and women at every level in the organization, so it's a quota, it's a decision of quota, they do want to address question of equality between men and women with this solution, because they think that if they don't go in that way, they will never reach their objectives. So this is the second way to change things in the organization. And the third way is politics. Of course, a few weeks ago, there has been a new law in France regarding also the same topic of equality between women and men. We also with quota, but it is for the whole country. So we don't really address with the Fresco the solutions, we just open doors. Junko said that with the Fresco, we enter a tunnel, we say like this, a tunnel, and well, un tunnel, je sais pas comment on dit. And tu sais, Célia? So we enter in a tunnel, but we don't see the end of the tunnel, because diversity and inclusion are so complex questions that we just open the door to new questions and then new questions, and then again, but we have to test all the way we could change that. And let's say the Fresco is just the beginning of. So that's the reason why working with our own students, always collaborators, staffs in companies, we start with the Fresco, and then we build all a training program to imagine, to go further in the comprehension of this or this point, of course, but also to meet people that have tried this or these solutions, or to, for instance, to work with big companies to understand their D&I policy, to understand why they do like this or like this, and so on. So it's a good way to start, and then we have to continue and to complete the training or the transformation of the company. It's a little like a climate fresk also. Of course, when you use a climate fresk, 3 hours later, you are like this, just as if the planet was condemned to death. And then, in fact, you realize that maybe we can change things. And now it is time first to accept emotion, and then to go to work and action. We think that we can have the same process with diversity. At the beginning, we become aware of certain things. We learn concept. We learn also figures regarding the very big. The importance of the questions, and then little by little we imagine new solutions. So I think we can change the society like this. Let's say we'll try. And thank you, Esther, and bye-bye. Have you got other questions? Otherwise, maybe I can just send you or indicate our email. If you have any questions, please just ask. So it is, I will take it. I will answer it.
And maybe if you can also write down your email on the chat. So when we will have the English version totally ready, if you want to play the Fresco, because I think it's the best way to understand how it works.
At that time, even if it is technically possible, we don't use digital to use a fresco. We could do it with mural or such a tool, but at that time we think it's too difficult because the subjects are too touchy, and we need to be all together to understand why these people are either sad, other very, very convinced that it's not true or so. Or a lot of men say, I'm sorry, I don't want to apologize because I'm a man, I'm white, I am 50 years old, and so on, so on. I don't want to apologize. No, you don't have to apologize. But maybe other people could have the same job as you, but they cannot because reasons that they are not really responsible of. So we try. Okay. Thank you very much. If you have no questions, maybe we can leave. So have a nice day, or no, it's a little late.
Evening.
And maybe see you later. Okay. Bye-bye, Marie.
We have a website.
Yes.
Sorry?
With pleasure.
Bye-bye. Take care.